We're just about 5 rounds away from the conclusion of the season for Season 2 of the FSS SMX Series. Welcome to Barber Motorsports Park. We're here in Leeds, Alabama, just a little bit outside of Birmingham, and it's time for round 11 of the SMX Series. Kyle Heyer, joined by Connor Horn tonight. Craig is out for at least a week or two. We'll see him back here shortly, we hope. But Connor, welcome aboard. I know we're kind of tossing you in last minute here, but SMX Racing, we've got over 25 cars here tonight. The championship situation has Camden Hibbett well out front of Beans Forster, but there's still plenty of time for things to sort out. And we're at a racetrack that doesn't have a lot of straightaways. It doesn't have a lot of drafting in contrast to where we've been the last couple of weeks. So it's going to be pretty elbows out here at Barber.
Should be pretty fun. It's obviously been a while, but this is going to be a fun one. You think of racetracks in Alabama, most people, at least in America, you're going to think Talladega Super Speedway, 2.66 mile super speedway, but this might be one of the more underrated road courses in North America. I think it's a very fun racetrack. You see it on the IndyCar schedule every single year. You have a lot of tight turns, a lot of great passing opportunities, and you do still have a little bit of draft that's going to come into plays with these Miatas. As you can see, you still have pretty much the entire field in a lane in this qualifying session with 10 minutes to go, and pretty cool temps. You're not going to be slipping and sliding a lot tonight, at least not in this qualifying session, so that's something that's going to drive these race drivers really crazy because you're going to be pretty packed up at the start.
Yeah, and you mentioned the temperatures here. Only 20-minute races, so we always talk about the lack of tire wear over the course of these races. You're not going to be wearing them out. You can overheat them, though, and there is a lot of corner load in places like the Alabama roller coaster, the bottom of turns 2 and 3 here. I love this section of racetrack. It's super fun to drive. This is one of the tracks I've had the pleasure of going to a couple of times in my motorsports career. So it's a blast of a racetrack. It is sort of like a roller coaster, but everyone talks about how it's hard to pass here. You mentioned the IndyCar races. Whoa, we see a big crash here leaving turn 5, but this is a hard racetrack to overtake on. Your primary passing opportunity is into turn 5, this hairpin down here. Maybe you can force it down into turn 8. They call this, the dipper. You can call it the corkscrew. You can call it all sorts of things here. But when you drop to the bottom of this, then it gets extremely single file for the rest of the lap, Connor, and that's what I'd say. Get your elbows out. You're going to have to tonight. Morgan Burkhardt, Camden Hibbett fighting for that championship. Absolutely, it's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be fun for sure. I would almost argue turns 13 to 14, 14A. If someone goes wide, maybe you can find some passing there, but it's going to be very tough. This is maybe a place where you set up a pass for turn 1, get the over-under, get the run down the main straight into turn 1, maybe make someone lift. There's plenty of chances to make someone lift out of it if you're going too wide. For example, like you mentioned, into turn 7, that's really not where you want to be side by side. You're going to see a lot of single filing out there. You might see some crashing there as well. It's going to be a pretty crazy race. This is a track that almost every corner is iconic in its own way. You talked about the roller coaster. You got the uphill turn 4. You got to be careful. If you get a little bit of air out of that little right-handed kink turn 4, you could lose a lot of grip. And then, like you said, that braking zone, your main point for passing in turn 5. It's going to be pretty intense, that first lap getting down into that corner.
Yeah, and this is what you were talking about just a moment ago, this big clobbering this curb. There's a couple curbs around here. They're very smooth in most parts of the racetrack, which means you can climb all over them in an SMX, but they can upset the car if you're too aggressive with them here. And then there's some other places like right there, the exit at turn 13, that you don't have any curbing or just very little to lean on. And there's not a lot of rumble strip around here, so you're not really going to get warned when you're at the edge of the racetrack. Not a lot of paved runoff either, so easy place to make a mistake, easy place to get caught up for collision. And then the other big elephant in the room, turn 1. This is fast. It drops downhill, causes understeer right at the apex. Now, we've seen big crashes here before in spec racing here on Sim TV, so I'm curious to see how drivers handle this, but with the championship started coming to a head, Camden Hibbett leads by 66 points, but Morgan Burkhardt said, my goal is to make his life miserable, and he sits back in 5th, but with 6 fewer starts. So once they start to even out, Burkhardt is going to be a threat. And then Nicholas Rice-Budo, 2 fourths last week at Homestead, Miami. He's still in the conversation, as is Beans Forster, who had a less great event. He sits 5th right now in qualifying.
Yeah, that's always kind of the fun part as far as a championship competition. You'd like to be the chaser more than the one being chased. You don't really want to be on defense. It's like, okay, let me just try to get a 5th place or something like that. Let me just try to keep these guys behind me. You want to be on the attack. You want to be like, I have to beat this guy. I'm going to beat this guy. And I'm going to do everything in my power to do that. That lets you be a little bit more aggressive, maybe a little more outside the box with your racing, with how you think, setting up passes, how aggressive you want to go for passes. So I like being in that situation more than being the guy in the lead being chased. I want to be on the attack, and no doubt Morgan Burkhardt, he's already on the attack. He's 2/10 up in qualifying right now, so that should bode well for these 2 races tonight. So he's already putting the pressure on.
Yeah, and you see Olivier Piatek back here in 8th. It's interesting that we see Piatek struggling right now in qualifying. Maybe he can find some speed in the closing stages here, but we've really filtered the cream right to the top here, haven't we? With Burkhardt, Hibbett, Rice, Puto, and then Thomas Belleman in the 718. Let's talk about him here for a second. He's back in 10th in the standings. But last time we saw him was at Sebring, where he won one of the races, and he has 2 wins and a handful of podiums on the season, so he is going to be a threat tonight. He's got great racecraft, and I think is well suited to take the fight to the championship front runners.
You just hope he's not that little bit rusty. I think it's hard to be rusty in a Miata, but if you haven't raced anything on iRacing in a while or any sim racing thing, you might be a little bit out to lunch, at least at the beginning, but once you settle in, like these, even in practice, he probably settled in, but in qualifying, especially putting hot laps down, pushing the car to its limit, I think at that point you'll probably be already good. I mean, you can see him, he's 5th. He's up there in the standings already, so already doing a good job. As you can see how tight the racing is going to be tonight just by the times on the sheet. 1st to 10th, separated by what? Not even 9/10 of a second.
Yeah, it's incredibly close in that top 10. To your point about Belleman being rusty, it's been a couple weeks since we've seen him here, but he also was the runner-up in the 2025 Toyota GR Cup North America Esports Championship. So he knows one-make racing well, especially fixed setup one-make racing. And we'll see how he can do. He's got Nicholas Rice. Actually, that was right behind him. That was his teammate, Olivier Piatek, who has jumped up to 3rd in the standings. Similarly liveried, Rice Puto sits in 4th with under 5 minutes to go.
That's going to be that corner that they just went through. I'm interested to see how these drivers navigate that. You get a lot of air through that little section. A little quick left, quick right, and you easily get air over that right-hander on the exit right before you get into that kind of carousel in the second to last corner. So that's going to be, I think, a little bit of a trouble spot, at least in any other car I've driven here. Really any car I've driven here, you get a lot of air there, and you really have to compensate for that, staying tight to the apex on that short right-hander. So that's something I think drivers are going to have to be aware of, as Morgan Burkhardt still trying to put laps down, hasn't quite improved, but still 2/10 clear.
Yeah, by that's 2/10, that's a 5th of the gap all the way back to 10th. So that's a pretty big leap over everyone else. Behind, that's a larger gap than the next 2 or 3 drivers combined, next 3 drivers combined. So really impressive. His start, of course, as he always has been, impressive. And then Beans Forster running 2nd in the championship. He has been Mr. Consistency so far, at least as far as the points are concerned. Has only finished outside the top 10 3 times this season in a whole host of races. But Homestead was a little bit of a miss, 10th and a 5th there, and then a 5th and a 15th at Road Atlanta. The last time he had 2 top 10s was back at Sebring, October 20th, and the last time that he had a podium was Mid-Ohio in early October, so he's really looking to right the ship.
Don't have playoffs, so he doesn't have to worry about winning, I suppose, but you need at least to get one in there and try to just be in the hunt for a win. If you can't win a race, you got to be up there in the hunt. No doubt he's been in the hunt for a few of them, with 13 top 5s in these 20 races, only outdone by Camden Hibbett, who has the same amount of top 10s as him. Like you said, no doubt the consistency's there, not quite able to close a deal, get some of these victories. So you can see the footwork, how technical even in the SMXs it can be, especially at a track like this. I think he's definitely got the pace to get a victory, maybe today. A little bit wide there. We're going to see drivers going in the grass a lot tonight at this racetrack, but like you said, consistency is going to matter, especially with the drop weeks that we have and everything like that. And I think he's in a good spot to maybe claim a victory here tonight. Yeah,
Skip Rock Jr. joining us fairly late in the session here in Camden Hibbett. Love that he always gives us the onboard with the heart monitor here. And it's rare that we see him up in the 120s. He's usually really calm and cool, sitting in the 90 to 100 range, but pinging up like a hummingbird right now with under 2 minutes left here in this qualifying session, chasing down now Piatek, who has leapt to 2nd place behind Burkhardt. Strong run there.
One of the elevation changes I think to do with that. You're going up and down. It is literally a roller coaster up and down this racetrack. So much elevation change. Huge uphill into turn number 2. And even still, I'd say 130 is still relatively low. I got off the treadmill today and I was at 160. So yeah, at least in the race car, I think you do. These drivers are used to it, whether it's sim racing or road racing. You get used to it. Your heart gets used to it. It comes down a lot more. It makes it a lot easier if you can control that heart rate.
Yeah, Charles Vaccaro is the only driver that is not going to have a lap time on the board. Left a little too late. Again, because we're running the heat format style events here in iRacing. As soon as the checkered flag comes out in qualifying, that will be the end of the session. We'll have two 20-minute races back-to-back. While we have a minute here and qualifying is finishing up, we'd like to remind you that tomorrow we have one of our FSS Racecraft Academies. That will be at Circuit of the Americas West. That will be tomorrow night. And that's 7 p.m. Eastern for the next Racecraft Academy. And that is critical that it's at Circuit of the Americas West, because that's where we're headed next week, November 18th, Connor. So kind of a little different than our typical trip to Circuit of the Americas. We're headed to the short course, kind of reducing that drafting opportunity. And you know as well as anybody else, if you don't have a lot of practice at COTA, you feel like a lost puppy for a long time.
Yeah, that is a track. Whether it's the big track or the small track, if you don't have practice there, you are going to be out to lunch, and it's going to be tough to get that. You kind of get situated at a track like that in a short amount of time. Heck, if you don't have multiple monitors, that track is tough. It is hard to see those wide corners. Yeah,
it's one of those places that you really have to have good peripheral vision. There's a look at your top 10 there for Barber. And moving on back to row number 2, I mentioned, I guess the next group of cars, back to row number 10. Charles Vaccaro, the only driver that will not get a qualifying time. We'll go over the rest of the starting lineup here in just a moment's time. And while we're waiting to grid, remind you what the schedule looks like the next couple of weeks. We told you about the Racecraft Academy taking us to COTA next Wednesday. And then we head to Sebring International Raceway and then the Chicago Street Course on December 2nd. And we'll finish up our season with round 15 on the 9th of December. And that will be, guess the racetrack, Connor, where we're headed for that one. It could be global.
I would not think it's Le Mans. That would be crazy.
Yep. Correct. It's
Seriously?
Not. It's not. It's not.
Okay. I was about to say.
You're in the right category, though.
In the right country?
No, but in the right global circuits category. I'd say. You got it.
Yeah.
On your runner-up shot. So that was decided between Greg Creamer and I that we would head to Bathurst Mountain Panorama Circuit for the season finale. Throw something a little spicy at these drivers. Why not? We'll have another look at the weather now that we're in the race session. Track temp about 85 degrees. Wind just a little bit of a breeze. Air temp nice and pleasant 78. Having been here a couple of times, it can get pretty toasty. So we'll head down to the racetrack in a moment and roll through everything. But before we do, we'd like to take a moment and thank some of the partners and people that make this all happen. We'll start with Full Send Sims and Court Schmidt. Custom racing simulators built for you based on every little detail. Court's got experience building military simulators, and we'll go to every detail to make sure that your simulator is accurate. And I tell you, practice makes a podium. And of course, 3P Logistics and Frank Rodriguez, track services, trackside support. They've supported us from the beginning. Thanks to 3P Logistics for coming on board, as well as Final Turn Motorsports, a wonderful prep shop that has come on board to sponsor Full Send Sim since the opening season here in this SMX Championship. And then a couple of newer partners, Wine Country Motorsports, race gear and equipment. They are a brick-and-mortar store. They will pick up the phone when the online retailers will not. And of course, you've got FARA, a racing organization that was based in Florida. They've got a really cool model where you show up to the racetrack for free and you just basically pay for parking and you're in. So enjoy FARA events around the country now as their schedule has expanded slightly. And of course, Sabelts, safety gear and equipment, they've come on board in recent seasons to help support the FSS SMX Series Season number 2. Cars are on the grid here, Connor. Let's roll through our starting lineup. And on the front row, we're going to kick things off with Morgan Burkhardt and Olivier Piatek. They'll be in that first row, followed by Camden Hibbett and Nicholas Rice-Puto in row number 2. Thomas Belleman joins us again from the inside of row number 3. Beans Forster, runner-up of the championship, starts in 6th. Then it's Carson Neal and James Newell in 7th and 8th. And then, Connor, we've got Deacon Greenfield and Dylan Lee, 9th and 10th.
Greenfield back there. Hayden Mann is starting in 11th. Skip Brock Jr., 32 car in the 12th position. Then row number 7, 13th position.
Oh, sorry. I was not up to my button clicking. There you go, Joshua Soto.
And then William Van Salkema. That's going to be my best guess. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Nate Himmelsbach, 43 car, 15th position. Gene Freidhofer, the 89 car, 16th position. 17th position just behind those two. Bob Mueller Jr., the 60 car. Seth Spolman, the 042, starting 18th and rounding out the top 20. Wayne Buttermore and Charles Vaccaro, the only driver not to get a time down.
All right, that'll be your starting grid here for the FSS SMX. Race 1 of the night. Race 2 will be gridded by the finishing order of race number 1. So warming up, again, the field's a little bit smaller tonight. This is not a super popular racetrack here at iRacing, Connor, and I know this is one of those road courses that it's a little long in the tooth as far as the visuals here, but it does drive largely the same as it does these days. But, what do you think makes this place sort of a steer away from on the purchase list, other than maybe being slightly less popular because it's not used by as many Pro Series?
I guess not used by a lot of series, maybe a little outdated in the graphics. I'm sure I'll get an update at some point. I'm getting distracted. Someone's playing the national anthem in the race, just getting that out of the way. But I think a lot of elevation change. It's just a tricky track. A lot of elevation change. There's really no part of the racetrack where you get a break. Your longest straightaway is the front stretch, and after that, you go through the roller coaster. Big downhill into 1, uphill into 2. You have a really hard braking zone into turn number 5. It's really tough racetrack. I think that's, as well as, like you said, not a lot of series go here, but I think that's the main reason a lot of drivers steer clear of it. It's a tough racetrack to master on your own, let alone racing 19 other drivers tonight.
Yeah, this is one of the places I hadn't been to until GT World Challenge America joined the Barber client list a couple of seasons ago, and been there twice now. And again, the biggest challenge is that it's just so hard to pass. If you can force an overtake, you're going to get the job done here, but it's all about kind of follow the leader, make sure you don't make a mistake. Morgan Burkhardt and Olivier Piatek will likely not. Someone's going to have to wrench the controls from him as we leave the final corner here and head up onto the front straightaway. Here we go, the Full Send Sims SMX Series Practice Makes Podium, Race 1 of 2, green flag, and we're underway from Barber. Oh, a little contact there midfield into turn 1. We're 3 wide with Skip Brock Jr. They've sorted that out. And the leaders, I think, are single file with Piatek actually coming out ahead of Burkhardt.
Yeah, Piatek actually beat him to the line. I suppose that's probably legal, but what that did was let him get the advantage into turn number 2 because Burkhardt could not really clear him into turn number 1.
Yeah, then now on defense into 5. You see in the background there Camden Hibbett having a look at Forster. They're side by each. And then Newell, Belleman, Carson Neal, Deacon Greenfield in that red car. He's running a livery that he'll be running next season in his real-world SMX, that red RP Motorsports car. And here comes Burkhardt up alongside Piatek, door to door. This is tough math here.
That is hard to do, and it's almost something you should never do. And look how much Camden Hibbett gained. There's contact. Piatek kind of drove Burkhardt wide, and you really can't be too wide through this section of the racetrack. Someone's got to give, but I bet none of them do.
And are we going to try 3? Nah, I don't think Camden's going to quite try 3. He's going to swing to the left, swing to the right, and Burkhardt's going to try to wrestle this lead away. He's on the right side of the road for the downhill left into 11, but Piatek's going to try to keep that overlap here. Hibbett's going to help his teammate. Door to door again. Here comes Forster forcing his way to 3rd.
A great move to get the 3rd, and great job by Piatek getting that lead back away from Burkhardt. I thought Burkhardt would really push the issue there, but couldn't quite do it. And now here's that pseudo kind of passing zone. Burkhardt kind of took advantage of Piatek going a little bit wide to try to hit the apex and got back to the inside, but couldn't quite hold it, but he's right there.
Wow, Piatek did a lovely job holding on to that. He's going to just lead the first lap. I don't know that he's going to quite be able to defend it into 1, but Hibbett's going to have a great view of this. Out the windshield, Burkhardt slides through and takes the lead away.
It's about as close to a slide job as you can get at a road course. That was pretty close, and there's some front end damage on Piatek's car from that. Burkhardt really sent it into the corner hard to try to clear the 62, and he did just that.
Yeah, now that Burkhardt's out front, this is one of those racetracks that he could sort of run away. There's a lot of talent in behind, but if they start to battle, it could bring it on. Here comes Piatek way down the inside into 5. He's going to throw the jab back at him, and they're 3 abreast in turn 5.
It's almost like the Daniel Ricciardo just fake. He just faked them out completely, took Burkhardt by surprise, but that gave the advantage, I think, to Camden Hibbett, because he's going to have what I would call the inside for this next set of corners. You got 4 cars on top of each other. James Newell's right there.
They're not waiting. They know how hard it is to pass. Little touch there. Piatek has to take the shortcut. That'll be a slowdown, and Hibbett takes over 2nd.
And now James Newell, he's another driver. A lot of drivers at the front have front end damage because that battle for the lead has stacked things completely up. Beans Forster also has some damage that front nose, and Piatek's the big loser. He's going to fall back 2, 3, maybe 4 positions.
Yeah, they were not pulling punches at the start of this, were they? Look at this battle from 4th on back. And Piatek
goes all the way back to 8th.
Yeah, this is not what Piatek needs because gaining positions is a lot harder than losing them, and that slowdown is going to hurt quite a bit.
Hasn't really sorted things out at the front. They've at least got single file through the top 4, but Camden Hibbett's got the pace right now to stay with Morgan Burkhardt, and Burkhardt's going to try his best to run away, but even with this not being really a draft track, it's still going to be very strong, and it's hard to gain on corner exit car wide, way wide out of the final corner. I think it was Deacon Greenfield going for a ride.
You're exactly right about that. It was Greenfield, and he did gather it back up, but it was pretty dramatic here. Was there a touch maybe from Hayden Mattis? No, I think they just ran off the road at the exit and did a nice job preventing that from turning into something bigger, but he's still side by side with that 65.
And he went wide in turn 1 again, so he's really struggling for grip right now, and it's got pretty close at the front, but it's close everywhere. Who am I kidding? But the lead battle is 3 wide into turn number 5 yet again. Now it's Beans Forster who's gotten all the way up to 3rd trying to challenge. Here comes the crossover over-under from Camden Hibbitt, but he couldn't quite get the run.
Yeah, it's so hard to build momentum out of that turn because it's sort of a double apex turn where that second apex opens up. So if you get back on throttle sooner, you can just sort of unwind the wheel and defend that. But Forster's going to take second place now, which is a big deal for the 23 of Beans because, Beans is second in the championship in that 23. So if he finishes ahead of Hibbitt, he's going to start pulling those points back. And here comes Belleman. He's not waiting for anybody.
Oh, do not go 3 wide. That will not work, but they got out of it. But 2 wide here is not going to work either. That let Morgan Burkhardt get a little bit of a gap, maybe the gap he needed to maybe break away from that lead pack a little bit, as Newell's going to force the issue into VS's and make that pass work. But look at the crossover. Forster got such a good run back up the hill.
And they're not done yet, are they? And Camden's going to keep Burkhardt from running off in the distance. Now they're side by side for 3rd place. And Carson Neal sitting there in 6th. Haven't really mentioned his name yet tonight. Started in 7th and is just laser focused at the moment at moving his way further forward.
You have to have laser focus. You don't, like we said, you don't get a break at this racetrack, so you have to be completely 100% undivided attention to this racetrack. If you don't respect it, it won't respect you, and it will cause chaos. As I'm definitely seeing Camden Hibbitt has the pace advantage. At least that's what I think. Burkhardt got a pretty good gap through that back half of the racetrack, and Camden Hibbitt just completely erased it.
Yeah, these two are on really equal footing week in and week out, and Camden's got a pretty sizable lead, but Morgan says, my only goal, and they're teammates, by the way, my only goal is to make it as miserable as possible for Camden these next few weeks, and they're going to take him right to the edge of the road and almost push him off.
That's miserable, I'd say. He tried to run him out of room, like my corner in Formula 1, and the heart rate almost up to 140. As they're going to go side by side, Hibbitt's got the advantage, but it's so tough to make this work, and you got James Newell right in the middle of it. They'll stay side by side. Oh, there's a little bit of contact that's going to hurt Hibbitt, but he actually got a pretty good bounce. He got a good run, but can't quite make that pass.
And I thought Newell might have given Hibbitt a push here, but he's better off to driver's left. Hibbitt's going to maybe lose this 2nd spot. A little door touch there, trading paint. Side by side for 2nd still.
Oh, man, the guts to make that move through this section of the racetrack is incredible, and Camden Hibbitt kind of gave it to him. I think that's him saying, you know what, you're going to try that. I'll give you that. If you can chase him down and fight him for me, that'd be great. I'll try to save my stuff a little bit.
They have spent 7 minutes of this race just absolutely throwing any dart they can at each other. Beans Forster, big slide there. They're just getting so aggressive. I thought this race would be much more tame than this, and it might tame out towards the end of this thing, but they are fighting hard early on.
It might tame out, but they're going to have to do it again, and it's going to be right back to the same thing. This is probably the most single file we've been since the start of this race. I mean, and it is still tight. There's only maybe 1 or 2 cars that aren't in this main line, and you can see how packed up it is all the way from the lead to about that 15th position.
Yeah, and it's Nate Himmelsbach there. That's P14. That's the end of the train. So calm now. Can James Newell keep pace with Morgan Burkhardt? Newell's another driver that we didn't really mention a lot of, but he is 4th in the standings, and he's only 4th by 1 point, and he won his first race of his career back at Homestead, Miami just last week. That was a 1st and a 2nd. He's riding a wave of momentum, and confidence comes with that.
We'll see if he can use that confidence. I mean, he used that confidence to get 2nd place for sure, but it just doesn't seem like Camden Hibbitt. He could really close up the Burkhardt in a hurry, but right now James Newell's not quite able to do that since he's gotten to that 2nd spot. Closed up a little bit under braking, but you're going to see Burkhardt kind of stretch that out as he gets a much cleaner exit.
Yeah, things. Oh, little touch there.
Man.
Smoke coming out of Belleman's car. I was about to say things had calmed down, but here's a look at what just happened into turn 8.
Looked like a bump from Piatek, and I believe Belleman just gave the bump to the driver ahead a few corners before, and he's like, hey, how about you like it? And no, he doesn't like it. It is hard to get those things that sideways, but saving it's another thing.
Yeah, did a nice job and hangs on to 6th actually, but someone's been into the back of Carson Neal. That car looks a couple inches shorter than it was, and I don't know that it was Belleman. His front end looks nice and squeaky clean. They're pretty sensitive on these cars.
Thought I saw him get into the back a few laps ago in that corner that we just went through, but didn't do any damage if he was the one to do it, so he's gotten away with it. As you can see, a lot of drivers in the top 10 haven't been able to do that. Even Newell's got front end damage. Beans Forrester's got a little bit of a ding on the front end. Piatek's car is actually relatively destroyed for what you're used to seeing on that front end.
And we've heard drivers talk about how that first stage of damage actually causes quite a bit of drag, and that's a big deal at places like Daytona or Homestead where we were last week. I don't know that it really makes a huge difference here because you're not going to reach your top speed. So it's not going to help you, but I don't think it's as big of a detriment as it has been. And Hibbett just went for the long break zone out duel there into turn 5 and took home 2nd place with it.
Not quite. I'd say Newell's still on the right rear just enough to try to contest this, as he's going to think better of it, because I think he knows that Hibbett might be his best chance of trying to get that lead away, and we'll see if Hibbett can close up like he was earlier, as he just got a bit of a boot from James Newell that time.
Getting kind of aggressive here for 2nd, and that's dangerous because Burkhardt is at a place where, the draft isn't going to be the end-all be-all. He can drive away if these drivers spend too much time mucking about, and it looks like he's starting to do just that as we hit the halfway point of this race.
See, the next lap or two is going to be pretty crucial for Hibbett to try to close that gap back down, at the same time trying to pull away a little bit from Newell, who might have Beans Forrester all over him for that 3rd spot. That's not going to help going that wide. That's what we talked about. It's so easy to go wide through that corner with the elevation change right on the corner exit.
And then Neal and Belleman. This battle was not done yet. Belleman tried to cross him over, but these corner radii are a little too long for that crossover to really work effectively. You just sort of end up making the turn longer, and so it sort of bites you when you try to do that. So Belleman will have to try something else a little later. They've kind of got Piatek, Brock Jr., and Dylan Lee all kind of bound up here as well. And Belleman!
Wow, that's not going to work.
Woo. Took a swipe.
I don't know if he meant to do that or that was just a little bit of a mistake, but it looked like he saw space and he was like, you know what, let's go for it. And that was not going to be a good ending. Now he's put himself right on Piatek again. It just seems like Piatek has the pace. It's almost like even on this type of track, that front end damage really is hurting him because he really hasn't moved as he gets a boot from Skip Brock Jr. It really stacks up in that corner.
Yeah, SMX is like that. If there's a gap and you can fit most of a Miata in there, you'll try to squeeze on in there and make a Miata-size hole if there wasn't one already. Hibbett has tracked down Burkhardt and kept him honest here, so I don't think he's going to drive away just yet.
No, I don't think so. He really closed up in that corner. Actually, he closed up pretty much everything in that corner. That was a great corner from Hibbett, and he's right there.
But now what? I mean, you're just going to start this duel all over again without letting Burkhardt get away. As soon as they get side by side, it'll bring in Newell and Forster. Here he comes. He's not waiting at all.
I would wait. I don't like doing this even this far back, and he's just going to put Burkhardt off. It's going to bring Newell, going to bring Forster, bring them all back in it. There's a little bit of contact, and there goes James Newell, who's going to get that 2nd spot. I understand wanting to go for it as soon as you get there, especially in these cars. You kind of have to, but you run the risk of that happening.
Yeah, the thing that I worry about is as soon as you create this circumstance, it's going to bottle up the 2nd on back battle first, and that will basically undo all the work that Hibbett just did for the last 2 or 3 laps. If you can get past Burkhardt and then things break out, that's fine, but right now they're battling for 2nd and giving the lead back to Burkhardt as Neal is going to have to give in to a couple of these drivers here.
Almost like old-style super speeder racing, as he about blocked Skip Brock Jr. off the racetrack. This might get a little hairy in a few laps, but that battle for 2nd, it's almost like the old-style super speeder racing. You don't want to lead the last lap, and if Captain Hibbett could just stay right on the back of him, stay right on the back of Burkhardt and just wait till the final lap, that's probably his best chance. He goes for it right there. He's leaving himself vulnerable to lose that 2nd spot.
I'd agree with you most places. I think Barber, this might be one of those few tracks on this calendar where I don't know if I do want to be 2nd on the last lap. It's so easy to defend here that I'd rather probably be leading, especially with the skill levels of these drivers where they're already easy enough to read when you have passing zones that exist, and when you're limited to really 2 or 3 chances per lap. It's very easy to put your car in a place that's almost impossible to pass if you don't make any mistakes. That's something that crash.
Shudo got turned.
Ooh, man. And they're going to pile in there.
Man.
A couple drivers getting caught up in that.
Himmelsbach piled it.
And
kind of saw that coming.
Just a stack up here. That's unfortunate for Rice Pudo because he's one of our championship front runners. And man, is that Himmelsbach that got into him there, you were saying?
That was him late, yeah. That's
Probably couldn't see it.
Yeah, it's kind of blind over the crest.
Yeah, can't see him, can't see him, can't see him, can't see him. And then right here, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but I mean, there's no doubt that was a stack up. We saw the too wide. You don't really want to do too wide into that corner. That could easily happen, and like you said, huge for Rice Puto.
So that splits the field up a little bit, and Burkhardt leads by 9/10 of a second. James Newell's not getting the job done here, and I think Hibbett is feeling some pressure now. 6 minutes to go, and they're not gaining ground on the leader when they need to be.
That's why I didn't like when Hibbett went for it where he did. I mean, there's no doubt he's faster than James Newell, and whenever Newell's in second, he just can't keep pace with Morgan Burkhardt, and every time he makes that attempt for the lead at the wrong time, he gives up that second place right back, and I think James Newell realized that. He just gave him the spot right there. He thinks, once again, he's thinking, okay, you're my only chance maybe stealing a win, just go get him.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Yeah, a little competition here, and I think that's necessary. Let Hibbett run down Burkhardt. As soon as they start fighting, they're going to lose 2 or 3 seconds a lap. So you might as well turn him loose and give him time to track down Burkhardt. He's really effective on the brakes down here into turn 7. So, again, he gained 3/10 on Morgan that time.
Yeah, see, that's what we saw the last time when he almost made that pass for the lead through this kind of S's section. He gained so much time there. And at this point, we saw James Newell, he lost a lot of time giving that position up to Camden Hibbett to the point where these top two might be able to get away because now the battle's for third.
Yeah, Beans isn't going to settle in here. Love that downhill curb slam. Saw that get used pretty effectively in Toyota GR Cup. One driver in particular, Will Robusto, was just absolutely hammering it. Here comes Beans up the inside now.
And Hibbett's unbelievable in those S's as well. He completely flew through the downhill. He got all the way up to the rear of Morgan Burkhardt.
Yeah, so game on now, and they've still got about 3 laps to go this time through. So there is time left on the board, and now he's got the Gazelles kind of separated from the herd here. So he's got a chance to take the lead away from Burkhardt before the reinforcements show up, so to speak.
I think if he can get the lead, he's gone. I'm not sure what else Morgan Burkhardt could do, because every time Hibbett's gotten the second, he has flown to get back up to this battle. And like you said, they've had a little bit of room now, but it almost looked like Burkhardt took that corner slow, almost like he wanted that pack to get back close.
Yeah, there's something to that. I think you're right on. Morgan Burkhardt is really good at driving other people's cars in a way that is a really great defensive tactic to let everyone else kind of climb onto the back of Hibbett's car. They're going to take each other to the grass, and this is exactly what he's doing. Burkhardt is confident in his pace. He's more confident in his ability to set up a scenario to make it harder for Hibbett to pass.
Yeah, he's going to be hard to pass, but that pass is going to be hard to make once the battle for third sorts out, but they might not sort out before crashing. Newell and Forster had a pretty big hit side to side that time, but Forster's now up to that third spot.
Yeah, it looks like James Newell sort of the cork in the bottle here. Thomas Belleman and Piatek feel it. Piatek trying to recover from that slowdown on lap 3. So that was really an incident that burned this result for him. If he could steal a podium out of it, it would certainly be salvaged. But really, for Beans, the goal is beat Camden, because until he starts finishing in front of Camden, he's going to continue to lose the lead.
You can see Burkhardt just placing his car exactly where it needs to be, keeping it slow, right on the apex, not really letting Hibbett able to get any sort of run on him, just keeping him right on his bumper, really right on the back of his car, just so he just can't make that move even though he wants to. And it's keeping him right in this pack, letting Camden Hibbett kind of have to be a little bit shy about making this move. You don't want to lose second place at this point in the race.
2 laps to go, and Camden
right
Hibbett
there.
He's just so close.
But I think that's where you can see it the most, that entry to turn 2. That's where you can see Burkhardt checking up the most, I think.
I think there's something to Burkhardt being conservative on the brakes, because he doesn't have a rabbit to chase, right? Hibbett can see where Burkhardt is braking and just sort of go a little bit deeper every time. Now on the outside of 5, I don't love this because it opens the door for Beans, but he got a nice run here. If he can poke the nose to driver's right, he's going to have a look. That was beautifully done by Camden Hibbett.
Oh, Burkhardt's trying to run him into the grass, though. Burkhardt tried to shut down the crossover, but Camden Hibbett saw it coming, got the driver's right, and he's able to maybe make this move as they're going to make a little bit of contact, but he couldn't quite stay there. Now they're so close, but he just can't quite stay alongside.
Yeah, he's got that outside momentum for Burkhardt really saved the day there. But it is not over yet. This is about to be a very exciting lap and a half.
And I think Camden Hibbett, the one thing he wants Beans Forster to stay off him and let him do the battling, but that's not really the case. Forster needs to beat him, like you said, so he's going to try to get that second spot regardless if it lets Morgan Burkhardt get away, I would think. Wow.
That was a huge curb jump there for Burkhardt, and Forster Piatek going to duel.
Where'd he come from? He was kind of out of the battle for the longest time. He might get back onto the podium.
Yeah, he's going to get squeezed down there. Bean's trying to hold him tight.
Maybe just that. Did a good job. Here comes, like they said, that failed crossover. Just doesn't work there.
It's so easy to defend. One more lap to go for Morgan Burkhardt to hold off Camden Hibbett. He said he'd make his life miserable if he wins this race. Oh, contact! Newell goes sliding. They gather it up.
That was side drafting gone wrong, but somehow they got away with it, and they're still going to stay pretty much in the main draft, these top 8 or so. And Morgan Burkhardt, I thought Hibbett might be able to get back close to him like he did the last few laps. He couldn't quite do it there, and this is really his last really good passing zone, and he's not there.
And he's not, and I think he's just a little bit too far back. Oh, Burkhardt in pretty hot into 5. I think a little too hot, and Hibbett carried nice speed there. He'll close up to him by the time they get to the hairpin, and then it's going to be game on the backstretch. But Burkhardt's defending well.
I think the only thing that's going to get Burkhardt out of a lead is getting shipped, and you're probably just not going to see that unless it's a big mistake. I would think Camden Hibbett's he's a little wide there. You don't want to get a slow down on the final lap, as he did not get a good exit, but he actually did get away from Camden Hibbett a little bit. I think Hibbett's last chance, if he's close enough, is in that carousel-like corner and maybe try to get the driver's left, but he's still not close enough.
Yeah, Morgan's just been driving way more aggressively this lap just to keep Hibbett hunting. And I think he's just done this at just the right time. Just dangled the carrot, and as soon as that battle behind them wasn't going to be enough to hold Hibbett at bay, he throttled up.
Yeah, at least 2 corners, he's got enough room where he's not really going to have to defend.
Yeah, Morgan Burkhardt, what a dominant force he has been week in, week out. Won a race at Homestead Miami last week. That was race 2, but race 1 at Barber goes to Morgan Burkhardt over Camden Hibbett, over Beans Forster, then Piatek, Belleman, Newell, Skip Rock Jr., Carson Neal, Deacon Greenfield, and Joshua Soto is going to come home in 10th. And Soto had dropped to the tail of the field at one point and drove back to P10. See that low 20th. That's impressive.
Yeah, that is a pretty darn good drive. And really, it's funny. It was a pretty clean race. Only had the one big incident, and we had a lot of destroyed front ends afterwards. Burkhardt almost led wire to wire.
Yeah, he did. How many laps did he lead? 11 of the 12. So that was impressive. I think the only lap he didn't lead was the first one. So Morgan Burkhardt off to a strong start there. Camden Hibbett in 2nd place. There's the rest of your results. I wanted to go back, though, and look at that contact on the last lap of the race, because that was this was that side drafting incident you had talked about here. Here's Newell.
High-Tech, I think, defends driver's left, tries to come back over, comes back over, and they just kind of come together right there. Almost put Newell on his side. I don't know how they even got away with that, but it really hurt Newell.
Yeah, they just kind of bang wheels here. And to your point, I think what scares me is when kind of Newell swings back around, that he didn't clobber the 62's tail right there. Woo. That was a nice miss. So,
really good job.
Well, with that, race 1 is complete here from Barber Motorsports Park for the Full Send Sims SMX Series. We'll take a short break. Here's some more about FSS Full Send Sims. We'll be right back.
Simulation will never replace real-world racing, and I don't want it to.
Full Send Sims provides custom-built, top-notch simulators from whatever your budget is. We want to find the best fit for you.
We build rigs for pro drivers where we go and measure their cars, every measurement one-to-one down to the millimeter. You can drive these sims and certify basically to race a car in the real world. Matter of fact, this weekend we have 2 guys that work with FSS that have strictly been sim racing for the last 5 years.
Absolutely did not think a year ago I'd be driving a race car this weekend. However, getting into the simulator, I think it really helped me get on the track and stay competitive.
I've been a sim racing instructor for about 2 years now. The benefit of working with me as a race coach, I'll get you to be a better driver, a lot faster, with a lot less mistakes than you could doing it on your own.
We take the sim building and the sim training as serious as possible. It's not a video game, it's a training tool.
Full Send Sims will offer fully custom-built rigs and delivered and installed into your own home, and constant online service. What we offer is world-class, top-notch racing, built by a community of racers who enjoy passionate, clean racing.
And welcome back to Full Send Sims and the SMX Series. Race 2 from Barber about to fire up. Kyle Heyer joined by Connor Horn. Connor, we're just moments away from gridding up for race number 2. What did we learn in race 1? There was a little bit of hesitation, perhaps, at times towards the end of the race. But again, I think the over-aggression is probably what bit Camden Hibbett early on.
Next race.
Yeah, certainly. So with race 2 coming up here in just a moment's time, we got about a minute left here in warm-up. Qualifying position, that seemed to sort of matter quite a bit, and the slowdown that hit Olivier Piatek kind of doomed him for a while. He did recover there at the end of the race, Connor, but how critical is it just to keep it on the black stuff and avoid getting knocked down the order? It almost feels like when you're at Martinsville, you get uprooted out of that bottom groove. It's just so hard to claw your way back.
Unless you can hit people to claw your way back, but you're not going to be doing that tonight. There's so many corners, especially that main downhill corner where it's so easy to get to the left of the curb and cut the corner. That's going to be trouble for a lot of drivers, especially we saw it on the first lap. So many drivers not quite able to make that apex, and that's what bit Piatek, and he had to fight back from it seemed like 7th or 8th position, but he got back up to 4th. He had the pace, but such a short race, even though you have 2 of them, 20-minute races, you're going to get 12 laps or so in these races, so you can't really afford any slowdown if you want to fight for the podium, let alone a race win. So even though you want to fight hard, the aggression's there, you have to keep it on the track and be very careful, because one slowdown is going to take you out of contention for the win this race.
Warm-up is almost complete. Here's your partners and people that make this all happen one more time before we go racing in race number 2. We'll wrap up after this race with interviews of our top 3 from each of our respective races. And we'll wrap up and get ready for Circuit of the Americas next week. Reminder once again that if you'd like to sign up for the instruction sessions, we have one at Circuit of the Americas West tomorrow night at 7 p.m., 23 hours from now. Check it out in the warm-up, and cars will head back to the racetrack to grid up now. They're going to grid up by their finishing position from race number 1, so the grid is now on the left-hand side of your screen. Morgan Burkhardt, Hibbett, Forster, Piatek, Belleman. And for Nicholas Rice-Spudo, he has the biggest hurdle of all, I suppose, starting dead last in this race, 20th place. So how does his championship format, or his championship run change? He came into the night 3rd in the standings. This is going to tumble him down a little bit. Are you aggressive with this, or do you take it easy?
Well, I think you have to be aggressive. I think I would, if he joins back the session. Right now he's not even in the session. We'll see if he joins back. But for someone back there, you got Wayne Buttermore, if he was able to get through the field, something like that. Someone from back there, I think 20 minutes, you have to be aggressive. If you have the speed to get up into the top 5, into a podium position, you don't have time to be conservative and wait for drivers to let you by or wait for the opportunity to open up. You're going to have to be aggressive. You're going to have to force your way through. You're going to have to put your car in positions you don't necessarily want to be in starting from that far back to make that ground up and get to the front, because the leaders are going to be gone after 2 laps if you're not careful.
Well, Morgan Burkhardt leads us around for a pace lap. Have a look at our weather for race number 2, and exactly what it was in race 1, about 70, well, maybe a little warmer air temp, but the track temp is about the same. Slightly more humid, a little less breeze, but for all intents and purposes, it is the same. We saw a lot of Camden versus Morgan battling. What about Beans sitting in 3rd place? Lost some more points to Camden Hibbett in this title fight. He's got to start turning things around.
Yeah, he's been consistent yet again, got back into the podium right there, but he just wasn't quite able to battle like those top 2 in front of him were able to. Burkhardt and Hibbett, I think, definitely have the pace. I think Forster's pace is good, probably good enough for P3 or P4. I think he'll be fighting with that with Piatek possibly. I think these top 4 you have are going to be the 4 to watch. I just don't know if he has the pace to battle Hibbett for the win or Burkhardt for the win per se, but he's definitely, if you're going for consistency, he's doing a good job of that, but he's got to find something in the tank for this next race.
So missing Charles Vaccaro and Nicholas Rice-Puto for the start of this race. That will leave us with 18 runners for race number 2. 20 minutes on the board. We head to Circuit of the Americas next week and follow that up with a trip to Sebring, the full course this time, on the 25th of November. And Chicago Street Course and, of course, Mount Panorama Bathurst on December 9th.
I love Bathurst. I wish I was better at it, but I do love it.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it has never clicked with me in iRacing. I don't know why. There are other challenging tracks that I have, come to get good at. Mount Panorama has never really been one. I never feel like I'm in the track. I always feel like I'm floating across it.
I think it's the goal of the track, though. I mean, there is barely any rhythm to that track, and you don't have runoff. You can't make a mistake. You make a mistake, you're resetting the car, or you're out of the race, something like that. I mean, I can't imagine doing that in the fog they were running in at the end of a Bathurst 1000. I don't know if you remember seeing that top of the hill. I can imagine doing that, but such a fun racetrack. I was much better at it on Forza a years back, but such a fun racetrack. I love lapping it in literally any race car. Just take any car there. It's fun.
Safety car is off. We're going racing now. 20 minutes, about 13 laps worth. I think we ended up with 12 at the end of this last race, so it's probably something similar here. Morgan Burkhardt in command, and Camden Hibbett, his teammate, alongside him to his outside. Here we go. FSS SMX. Round 11, race 2, underway from Barber. Ooh, big lunge down from Hayden Manis in the 65. Took them 3 wide back there. Bob Mueller Jr. in the middle of it. And Wenzel Kemma, I thought that was him. That was kind of getting pushed out. It was actually, indeed, the 28, the white and green car. At the front of the field, Burkhardt, Hibbett, Piatek, but here comes Forster back for third.
Forster's going to try to get that third spot back. It was a much better start from Burkhardt. He was much more aggressive in the turn 1. He's able to clear Camden Hibbett and not lose the lead like he did in the first race.
Yeah, Thomas Belleman was sort of on the outside looking in at the end of that last race. And there he is in the black car, the 718. Let's see if Hibbett can just try to get ahead of Burkhardt and control the race a bit more effectively.
Whoa.
Contact, Beans bounces off the back of Hibbett.
That's a lot of right front damage that Forster's going to have to deal with now. Piatek, he's also got his front end damaged already, so that's something he's going to have to deal with. Keeping that nose clean is so important. He's second to about 7th position already, pretty darn stacked up.
Yeah, James Newell took a big chunk of curbing there on driver's right. When the tires are cold on this opening lap, it can be really tough to maintain. Side-by-side trouble, and Greenfield spins right in front of the field, backs off the racetrack. Everybody else, I think, got through there.
I don't know how, and somehow he came out of it unscathed. He might have the chance to recover. A little bit of contact with Dylan Lee there, it looked.
Yeah, I don't know that Deacon really did a lot wrong. Let's jump on board here with Dylan Lee. He's alongside him here. You could argue maybe he could be closer to the curbing there, but he had overlap.
I'm sure they'll disagree. He had overlap. He wasn't really on the curb, and I'm sure to go side by side through there in these cars, you would assume that driver to your inside or outside is going to be on that curbing, and that wasn't the case. But either way, kind of just racing, you're going to have that. I'm shocked we haven't had more of it, honestly.
Yeah, Brian Belansky will be going to work there to try to sort out that. But we're back to the front, and big moves up in the front here.
Wow, that was unbelievable. Camden Hibbett had Morgan Burkhardt so preoccupied with that kind of protecting move into turn number 5. It let Piatek get such a run into the corner. He outbroke everybody, and he might have a chance to get this lead away.
And he's going to lunge down into the corkscrew here, and museum corner. A little touch there. Burkhardt's going to ride that rim, and here comes Camden.
I thought he'd have him, but Burkhardt did such a great job keeping it on the outside, driver's left, and that's not going to work for Hibbett. Here comes Belleman trying to get the third position, steal that one away. We're 2 by 2 at the front.
Yeah, but Burkhardt hangs on a lead. Death taxes and Burkhardt defense. I mean, it's just insurmountable for everybody else, but Piatek's going to try it again.
Wow. That was a bold move. He fired it in there. He shoved Burkhardt into the grass. That's the second time he shoved Burkhardt wide, and sooner or later Burkhardt's not going to appreciate it as they're dead even to this section of the racetrack.
Carson Neal off at turn 14.
Stayed out of the barrier somehow. Couldn't quite see what happened. Burkhardt keeps the lead at the front, but he went a little bit too wide, and he's definitely going to lose the lead after that one. It's going to be Belleman trying to challenge. He's going to push Piatek through, actually.
Yeah, but they've got to clear Burkhardt, and they will, but they got to clear him by the time they get to turn 2 because he'll fight back on the inside. Burkhardt in the grass again. You got to watch his incident count as well, so it doesn't come by the ire of the stewards, but Piatek takes the lead. Let's go back and see what happened to Carson Neal before his off. He might have had some help from James Newell right there, yeah.
Yeah. Big overcorrect. Thankfully for him, he had a lot of runoff to deal with, and he was able to keep it out of the barriers as Piatek. Now he's got the advantage. Burkhardt fired it in there as they all stack up into each other almost within the top 6. Little door-to-door contact, Belleman and Hibbett battling for that spot. Now Piatek, it's his turn to play defense.
And look at Skip Brock. He's climbed all the way to 6th place after starting mid-pack in race 1. So slowly, silently moving his way forward as the front 6 are line astern.
That was really interesting out of the final corner. We saw Piatek kind of shove Burkhardt wide, not once but twice, but then the final corner, Burkhardt just kind of overdrove, trying to keep the position defending, put himself in the grass, and ultimately lost that lead because of it.
Single file here, down into 11 this time. It's gotten calmer quicker than the last race, Connor, but I think they've learned some things from that first race. Burkhardt, though, going to look up the inside. Maybe thought he was going to use the bumper to open up that door.
I thought I was going to try driver's left there, try to get that run around the outside. Couldn't quite do it, but he's got more overlap, I think, on Piatek, and he's got a much better run. Bellen's got a better run than both of them. Now he's going to push Burkhardt to the side-by-side battle.
Yeah, that was a mistake for Piatek to leave that right side lane open. You don't want the inside in turn 1 because you get pinched off here. Unless you do that. And he really knocked Burkhardt off that time, and it's not going to gain him anything either.
No. I mean, that's the 3rd time. To me, it's 3 strikes you're out. You get on the 4th strike, you're done. At least that would be my rule. At Burkhardt, I cannot imagine he's going to be very thrilled by this. But like I said, the 3rd time he's been shoved wide by that green 62 car, but now he's got positioning where he wants it.
Yeah, but Piatek's going to fire it in there really deep, and he's going to have preferred lane for turn 8, side by side, 1st and for 3rd.
I thought Burkhardt was going to drive him wide there. I know I certainly would have after what he's had to go through. Burkhardt, this is the line he wants, but Piatek's going to get that push that he wants. He's going to have the nose ahead here.
Oh, Beans. Camden bailed out early, and that opened the door for Beans, but it kind of caught him by surprise. And again, man Piatek bouncing off of Burkhardt.
That's not going to work.
Oh, boy.
Belleman wanted to go, but there was no room for that. I mean, at some point, Burkhardt, I assume at some point he's going to stand up for himself, or else he's going to find himself in the barriers if Piatek keeps pushing him. Look at this run by Camden Hibbett. He gave a big shove to Morgan Burkhardt.
How did he get all that momentum? That's my question. Just shot out of a can. Oh, more contact. And I'll tell you, one of these drivers is going to end up upside down in the Armco with the way they're leaning on each other. And I can't tell which ones it's going to be.
Or they're going to let Camden Hibbett just pass both of them. I mean, I can't believe he can get away with so much contact from one driver to the next. I mean, that is about maybe 5 times at this point he's hit that car.
I think that the reality is he's hitting him a bunch. It's not doing anything. He's not gaining a lot. He's really only hurting himself in the process. It's almost like Burkhardt's driving a brick, and Piatek's just got an aluminum can. He's bouncing off him like nothing.
It's a very stoic Morgan Burkhardt for sure, but I think the best thing Burkhardt wants to see is Camden Hibbett. I might be jinxing it, but Hibbett and Burkhardt have not had that much contact for how much they've ran 1-2 tonight.
Yeah, they are teammates, but they race each other really hard. Now, we have seen them get into each other in the past and create a little bit of drama, but here we go.
He wants it, but Burkhardt's already seen that move. He's not going to give that up for sure. But that was what let Piatek get that battle for the lead initially, because Hibbett was trying to force that move all the way to driver's left in that corner, and Piatek just outbroke them completely. And look at this blocking. He just drove Hibbett into the grass a little bit. I don't think Hibbett was quite there, but he thought he was.
Yeah, he tried to get overlap and just couldn't quite get there. Now, Thomas Belleman on the outside of Beans, a little contact there. It's getting handsy back here, isn't it?
There's no separation. I mean, you said it got more calm, more quick, but we are still a full single file line all the way to 16th position. There's no separation.
Yeah, that just means that the drama, when it spices up, is going to be even deeper for longer. 12 minutes to go.
By the way, the back of that 16 car line, it's Carson Neal. He was all the way off track at one point, and he caught all the way back up.
That just goes to show you how much they've slowed the pace of this race down by all this battling here, and Piatek trying to come back around the outside of the carousel at the end of the lap. He's going to get one spot, maybe even get overlap on Burkhardt by 15. Not quite enough.
It is like super speedway racing, because Morgan Burkhardt, at least in that part of the track, it looked like he was controlling both lanes. He was checking up Hibbett a little bit, and then when Piatek got too much of a run, he was like, okay, let me control that lane a little bit, pick up the pace.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but Morgan Burkhardt is so talented. He's a driver of the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series in the real world in a Porsche. He's a very accomplished SCCA road racer. He knows so well how to place his car, where to place his car, not only for him, but also to manipulate the cars around him. He can put his car in a place that makes other people drive the way that he needs them to. And that is a skill that just transcends sim racing. It's really impressive to watch. Piatek tries to go to the inside, but he's going to pinch off the momentum, and here comes Hibbett back.
I mean, that was perfectly set up. I think he absolutely wanted that, and that might have been those two working together a little bit, because Piatek's going to go for that space, and Hibbett knew he was going to go for it, so he was ready for the over-under, and he just about got it away, but he was a little wide right there, but he's able to get the position right back.
But look exactly, again, we're in the same exact position now. Burkhardt's leading, and he's forcing Hibbett and Piatek to race each other, and with that, it's giving him the lead that he needs. It's so manipulative, but it's genius. I mean, it's really, really smart racing that Burkhardt's doing. If you look at how much he's actually controlling this race from out in front, it's very much like what you said about plate racing, where he's controlling the lanes. It just isn't as obvious at times.
It isn't obvious unless you're paying attention to it, but I mean, you can definitely see that he's just putting on a master class. He's one of those drivers. He's driving in the way he's in everyone's head. He's in every one of the other 17 drivers' heads right now, and he's definitely in the drivers' heads from the front to four behind him because of how he's driving, how he's able to defend week in, week out, race in, race out. It is unbelievable, the defense he's showing right now. And it's not just, defending the corner, like you said. It's not just taking a more shallow line. It's slowing the pace, making everyone run his pace and not something else. I mean, it is incredible to watch.
9.5 minutes to go. We're on lap 7 of approximately 12. And it is one consistent group back to 16th place Seth Spullman. The only two cars that are not in this group are Deacon Greenfield and Wayne Buttermore. A little bit of side-by-side James Newell and Joshua Soto. Soto is, again, one of the drivers that dropped to the tail of the field in race 1, then rallied for a top 10. And here he is now, P8.
Fell back a little bit, but he's back into that position. Just trying to get back to where he was. I mean, he was a force in the front 5. Newell was, at least, in that race, but he just didn't have the pace that he needed to compete. Speaking of competition, they're side-by-side for the lead again.
This is as close as Hibbett's been in a couple of laps. And Piatek's going to take advantage of it. I think he'll try to go with the 132, or not.
No.
He'll go with none of them, 3 wide.
I don't like this. This is never going to work in a million years. He backs out of it. Burkhardt did not get a good entry to the corner. They stay dead even side by side. Piatek, there's contact between the teammates. Piatek tried to get both of them, but couldn't quite get the run. Forster's right there as well.
That was kind of clever. He forced Hibbett to run a little wide, and that got him and Burkhardt offline later in the corner. So that was sort of Piatek setting the leaders up to take each other out. It didn't quite pan out that way. But, you put 2 drivers of lesser talent in those positions, I think you would have seen them wadded up there.
Well, if you saw that in rookie Miatas, well, you wouldn't see this in rookie Miatas, but if you did, you would have seen 2 drivers out of the racetrack.
Yeah, they would be tumbling over the Armco in no time.
Oh, a little bump and run. And we've seen the contact from Piatek be a vital key for him tonight, especially to Burkhardt. It's the first time he's hit Hibbett, I think.
I've never seen Hibbett's heart rate this high for this long. I know 138, 139. We've seen it peak like this before, but he's been like this all night, and he continues to be impressive. Big lunge.
He's going to try to squeeze Burkhardt out. He just couldn't quite clear him. I think that took Morgan Burkhardt a little bit by surprise, but he's able to have just enough overlap to stay the drivers right here. And you're not surprising. Hibbett's just going to pinch his entry off as much as he can, but it's not quite going to work.
Oh,
he
big
hit
contact. Huge hit. And that's going to send Burkhardt off. Piatek is going to have a run, but nowhere to go with it. That was a big clout. And we'll bookmark that and go back to a replay in a moment because they are still scrapping for the lead.
That's a lot of rear end damage to Burkhardt. Don't know how it's going to affect them. More contact between them. Real door by Piatek's going to try to go to the middle 3 wide. Unbelievable move. He got to the middle. Now he's got the position. It's going to be Hibbett backing out, and Piatek's got the lead. How did he do that?
That was impressive.
Crossover.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness, he tried to shut the inside off, but Burkhardt got back to it. Look at this mess.
This is crazy here as we work our way through the carousel. Under 7 minutes to go. This is wild. I did not expect Barber to be like this.
My goodness.
I've heard Barber described as boring. It is absolutely not that tonight.
I told you, for North American racetracks, it is so underrated. I cannot believe Morgan Burkhardt got the lead back out of it. I thought Piatek had it back. He just entered the corner a little bit too hot.
Yeah, just got in there and kind of slid across the nose of Hibbett when he was already committed, and then it just jams them all up. And then watch this Piatek move here.
Gosh, if he could have held on to the lead, it would have been move of the year. I mean, this is unbelievable what he's able to do. These two teammates, they make contact again. It opens up that space in the middle, and he just goes for it. It was unbelievable.
That was really cool. Unfortunately, it was all for naught. He's back exactly where he was before that, but another minute and a half burned off the clock.
Gosh. This is a 13-car wreck waiting to happen. I mean, 13th place could win it at this rate. You got Van Solkema and Carson Neal still side by side. Everyone's banging fenders.
Yeah, Skip Brock Jr. Thomas Belleman sneaks up the inside there. But this is a storm brewing up here in this top 5 again.
How dark it is, it almost like there is a storm brewing. The clouds are coming over Barber Motorsports Park, and they are literally bumper to bumper to bumper.
Yeah, they're all just kind of waiting to see who'll make the next move now. You know, the cool thing about not having distinct passing zones is it really creates a lot of unknowns. You know, it's not like at a Sonoma where you know every time you go down to 11 there will be a move, right? Every lap it's different here.
You never know where they're going to make the move. We thought it was like turn 5, really.
Whoa.
They might have hit again. I don't even know if they did hit. If they did, it was over the grass. That's why they both got sideways. It's just, I can't believe they're getting away with as much contact as they are right now. But yeah, even here, you kind of anticipate maybe turn 5. That's the braking zone you're going to see the passes in. We've seen an attempted pass at pretty much every part of the racetrack tonight.
Yeah, I mean, they're all equally bad passing opportunities. That means you might as well try it everywhere.
Whoa. Hibbett made a big mistake that time. He went a little bit too wide, as everyone's going wide in turn 1, but he went too wide. That let Burkhardt get a big gap.
Yeah, that's going to hurt them for a lap or two here, I think. They got to get this sorted out pretty quickly, but no one's going to be willing to give back here.
This might be the moment for Burkhardt. If he saved his stuff like he did last race, this is his chance to scoot away.
So it's up to Piatek now, as Forster and Hibbett are in lockstep. Should be 2 laps to go next time by the stripe.
Big pass for Forster if he can complete this. Hibbett just not as strong as he was a little bit earlier right now.
And Bean's got it.
Front damage hurting.
Yeah, pretty good corner for Piatek. 6/10 back still and running out of time.
He's got the time to do it if he has the tire to do it. I mean, he's definitely got the aggression to do it. That is not something that's questioned, as everyone's going to follow Morgan Burkhardt into the grass that time, and who knows how much that rear end damage might be hurting Burkhardt. I would not assume much, but I think Piatek's going to be thinking, oh, it's hurting him a lot. I'm going to have to at least try to put that in his own head that he can get there, as Beans Forster went a little bit wide there, and he's going to lose that spot right back.
Yeah, so Hibbett goes back to 3rd. And Forster opens up the door now for Belleman for 4th place. All the while, Piatek has kept the gap to Burkhardt consistent, but that's not going to do the job that he needs. That was a little gain there in turn 15, and 2 laps to go left.
2 laps to go, I think he'll get there. Now the question is Morgan Burkhardt going to drive as hard as he has all race, or is he going to back Piatek back into the pack a little bit? I think it's a little too late for that, but I wouldn't put it past him, as now Hibbett's probably going to be back on the charge again, catching both these drivers.
I don't think Burkhardt wants Piatek to get to him without other cars in the mix, because then the pass gets a lot more straightforward. But it is risky bringing them all back in too, because if you make a mistake, or Piatek, as he's gotten his shoulders out to throw shoulders and jab elbows here, if Piatek does that to Burkhardt and there's no one else to pick up the pieces, that means that Piatek could knock him out of the way and win the race. It's SMX.
Problem is if he tries to back up the pack might not get there, because his battle for 4th is kind of holding him up. Beans Forster tries to keep it from Belleman. He's gonna somehow keep it. Skip Brock, James Newell, they battle for position. They've gone really wide. Now they're 3 wide. Those top 3 are definitely gonna get away at this point.
Yeah, but Piatek is reeling in Burkhardt, so he might have another shot at this. This mess is still yet to sort out. Here comes James Newell hunting for spots, and he's on the outside here. He might have to give in.
Oh, wow, that's a squeeze. He had to give up there. Not going to make 3 wide work there ever through that corner. Everyone's backed out. Big contact. 2 instances of a contact. Everyone's in the grass.
Dylan Lee picking up some pieces here. All the while, Morgan Burkhardt and Piatek are coming out of turn 16, ready to pick up the white flag. Here we go.
He just didn't quite close in as much as I think he needed to that set of corners, really that lap. I just don't, unless he has a big lunge, I'm not sure if he has the pace yet again.
Yeah, last time it was Hibbett in this position, and Burkhardt just drove away. A little damage on the back of that 67, but I don't think it's going to impact the performance of this car. He just ran his best lap of the race, a 140.211.
Yeah, Piatek only gained about 0.03 of a second. He might have gained a little bit more through that section, but still not quite close enough to realistically have a look.
Yeah, just didn't get through the gears very clean there, leaving 5. This could be Burkhardt 2 for 2 tonight. And just manipulating everyone else's vehicles around him. Hayden Manis and Lee, this is a fight for 8th.
He can hold on. You could definitely say he's taken every punch from Piatek possible. Step out of her 8th. It's going to go side by side. Lee kind of tries to shove him out of room, and he did just that. But here comes the crossover. Manis did a good job maintaining his pace out of the exit.
Last time down the backstretch here. Piatek is close, but it's going to take a Herculean lunge.
I don't put it past him for what I've seen. He's definitely there for a lunge. He sent it in there. That's big time send. Big time sendage. He's right there if he wants to get physical.
Here we go. Last couple of corners here. Piatek trying to find a way around Morgan Burkhardt. He's going to try to set him up, but it's so hard to over-under here. Morgan Burkhardt, 2 races in a row, not quite going to be able to get there for Piatek. Morgan Burkhardt's going to sweep Barber in the FSS SMX Series.
Side by side for that 5th position. Skip Brock Jr. is going to get it away. What a race.
Whew, Piatek was working hard for that one.
He worked hard. Burkhardt probably had to work a little bit harder with the defense he had to throw at everyone. I mean, he had to fend off half the field in both races. That was incredible stuff and a very crucial sweep for him tonight.
Yeah, you see just, he's not showing it, but he is definitely tired after that one. Let's have a look here at our race results and run through them briefly before we chat with a couple of our podium finishers. Morgan Burkhardt is your winner in both races tonight. Then it's Piatek in 2nd. Camden Hibbett was also on the podium twice. Beans Forster had a 3rd and a 4th. Good round, but he finished right behind Camden in both races. That's not going to be the points gain he needs to run down Camden for the championship.
Just not quite enough, but like we said, that consistency is there, but if you're not consistent against the right driver at the end, it's not going to matter. So like I said, all these 4th, 3rd places are good, but he's got to do a little bit better if he wants to get back in the title fight realistically.
And Carson Neal, how about that rebound? That was pretty nicely done, I have to say, considering he was completely backwards and off track about halfway through this thing.
That was incredible in the sense that it only took him about 2 to 3 laps to get back to the main line. That's just how much slower the pace was at the front. It made everyone else slower, and he's able to catch right back up and get back into the top 10. It was a strong effort.
And there's Joshua Soto, 11th place tonight. I think he's got more pace than he's been showing. Hasn't really been here super consistently, and that's been showing in the results. Of course, Nicholas Rice-Puto, 20th in race 1, bails out of race 2. Deacon Greenfield also caught up in an incident, leaves him just 15th. That's a night to forget for some of these drivers on the second half of the leaderboard here.
Really going to hurt Rice-Puto. I was kind of surprised he didn't show up for the 2nd race. Maybe just figured that he just didn't have any chance in the 2nd race from starting 20th and decided not to show up. But still really going to hurt him in the points. And Deacon Greenfield, we saw him spin in the race too. He was not able to recover the same way.
Yeah, Jim Friedhofer, Wayne Buttermore also out of this one. So there's your race results here for Barber race number 2. In just a moment, we'll talk with a couple of your podium finishers when they join the Voice channel. And we'll hopefully get a little bit of a rundown of all the drama up at the front. We usually hear or see Camden and Morgan Burkhardt, as well as Beans Forster, and TBD on Piatek as well. But that was fun. Camden Hibbett is waiting for us now. Let's talk to Camden. A couple of podium finishes tonight, Camden. I know this wasn't quite what you were hoping for. Decent for the championship in regards to running against Beans, but I think, Morgan Burkhardt's the driver that you have your eyes on. And 2nd and 3rd tonight, not terrible.
First of all, I apologize for my voice. I'm going to try and get through this one. Not feeling the greatest, losing my voice as we speak, but I think, wow. That was an event for sure. I don't know. I had 13X. I don't know that there was a single clean car on the track by the time the checkered flag flew on race 2. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I approached this week a little bit different than I have, knowing Morgan's plan and knowing more importantly that he's actually going to be here for the rest of the season. Knowing that I have to worry about him rather than just kind of worry about him winning races. He's in it for the championship too. So, yeah, I mean, I think I got the best of what I could out of this track. This is by far not my best place on the schedule. I'm not great here. For whatever reason, I have a really hard time getting past people. Morgan got in my head a little bit in race 2. I made some moves that were kind of stupid, but that's part of it. You live and learn and move on. I mean, I think Morgan's just trying to get me to finish as far back as possible, which I fully respect it. I had a purple lap in race 1 coming, and he was like, sorry, and then like slowed down 1.5 seconds in the final sector. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm trying to learn his game as best I can. It was very hard to give him a taste of his own medicine here, just because it's so hard to get to the lead. He did a really good job of saving his tires in race 1. I think I matched him pretty well in race 2. Made a mistake in 1 that ultimately just set me back, but all in all, for what tonight was and how hectic it was, I think tonight was a win for me, point situation wise, and overall night was, I'll give myself a B on the night. So
Well, a B, not bad, Camden. Congratulations. Yeah. Second and third tonight. We'll see you at COTA next week. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to the people upstairs. I got a friend over, Gray. He's watching on the broadcast. My family's upstairs, so we had a crowd tonight. So unfortunate that I couldn't bring home the win, but we'll come back next week and go fight for a championship at COTA. So see you guys.
We'll see you there, Camden. Thanks.
See ya.
All right, let's chat now with Olivier Piatek, who came home in second place in race number 2. And Olivier, fourth in race 1, second in race 2. So, again, a podium on the night, not a terrible way to end things. You had a shot there at Morgan coming to the checkers, but it's hard to pass. Take us through what was a very aggressive elbows out battle there in race 2 in particular.
Yeah, I mean, race 2 was really elbows out. Race 1, I gave like the first lap, I was trying to be kind of calm, and then I saw Morgan wasn't giving up the spot, so we just battled, and then I got to slow down trying to go side by side with Newell, just some neck code, and that really hindered my race 1. And in race 1, when trying to get to the pack, I saw that it was so difficult to overtake. Like, there was times I was like a few tenths lap faster and I couldn't get by. So coming into race 2, I knew that I could not get trained. I had to stay in the top 3 positions all race, and I feel like I executed that pretty well. It just got by Camden, and the gap was a little bit too big to Morgan.
Yeah, really well done. And tell me about Barber as a racetrack, though. We come off of a couple places that were pretty drafty, long straightaways, heavy braking zones. This was all about carrying speed. How tricky did that make it to try to figure out where Morgan was weak tonight?
I mean, Morgan wasn't really weak anywhere, to be honest. He did a great job defending. He had really good pace, which made it very difficult to pass. And that's why, like, you noticed me and Camden were getting so aggressive, because otherwise there was no way to get by Morgan here.
Yeah, job well done, Olivier. Congratulations. Second place tonight, decent points, and we'll see you next week at COTA.
Yep, see you.
All right, we got Beans Forster joining us now. Beans, race 1 was your podium for the night. You ended up in fourth in race number 2. Pretty hands-on, elbows out. We've been using that term a lot here tonight in this fast-flowing Barber Motorsports Park. Take us through your races. Pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, and definitely probably the most fun FSS race of the season so far. And I mean, we always have that one every season where it's door-to-door, hardcore, clean, and just a little bit of bumping here and there. And this was it. It was tough, you know. You'd get slowed down in just the wrong spot, and I mean, I looked in my mirror and there were just the entire field looked like it was in my rear view. So tried to just keep my head down and stick with the front pack and make whatever moves I can. I wasn't really strong with making the moves, but more so of defending the passes. I think at a turn 5, going down towards the corkscrew, there. But yeah, it was tough. Definitely not my best track, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, pretty fun to watch, Beans. Congratulations. It was a fun night. I have to agree with you. I think it was the middle of that second race that Connor and I up here were just going, what are we watching? This is crazy good. And, Barber has a bit of a stereotype for being maybe a little bit on the boring side to race on. You guys proved it wrong tonight.
Thanks. We try.
Thanks, Beans.
Thanks, guys.
And Morgan Burkhardt will be the last to join us tonight. Sweeps the weeknight. I almost said weekend, but we're on a Tuesday here. First in both races. Morgan, wasn't easy, although I have to say, it's fun. Connor likened how you were driving to managing 2 lanes at a super speedway. You're so good at driving the cars of those behind you as well as your own. Take me through. What was the point tonight where you felt like you might have lost control of the race there for a second? Because you led most of the laps. I think 11 in race 1 of 12 and 11 in race 2. So 22 of 24 total laps tonight.
Yeah, I playing the lanes is exactly how I would describe that. There were a couple times when I went off at the final corner and Oliver got by me and Thomas got a really good run on me going into turn 1, and that was a point where it was I need to get this back pretty quickly, because being able to play the lines like that just entirely infringes upon me being out front. So if I can be out front, I can really ruin everybody's day, for lack of a better term. Because my whole mindset right now is I'm in a must-win situation for the next 8 races, so I've got to do what I did tonight for the next 4 weeks straight. I can't have a bad race. If Camden has a bad race, it makes the championship a whole lot closer. But if I win every single race and Camden finishes 3rd, I have the best shot of winning. So that's really the goal. Is the bigger I can make this pack, the more opportunity there is for Camden to go back a couple spots. So that's really what I'm trying to do, and it's kind of branching out a little bit from what it has been before, of trying to order the pack behind me so that I can get different people to be the second car and then try and make a break for it. And being a lot more strategic about when and how much I use the tire, and that was really, really helpful towards the end of both of these races.
Morgan, congratulations. Great job tonight. Super fun. That race 2 in particular was a blast to watch. So enjoying it, and we head to Circuit of the Americas West next week. That's a different challenge for everybody. Looking forward to seeing your race there.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks a lot. All right, Connor, wrapping things up here from Barber Motorsports Park. That was a treat tonight, wasn't it? I was not expecting it to be quite that exciting, given that this place is tricky to pass on, but 3-4 wide, I think, at one point. Pretty cool.
It's pretty darn cool. SMX doesn't disappoint. Really, it doesn't matter what track. These cars will put on a good show at it. And I still stand by my statement. Barber is underrated, and I wish more series went here. I think it's very fun. The elevation change gives it a challenge alone, but you have so many parts. There's really no, like I said, there's no part of the track where you have a break, and especially these cars, you're always battling someone, let alone battling the racetrack. This is definitely a track where you race the track before you race other drivers. And we didn't really see that because you're racing drivers for all 12 laps of both races. Especially Morgan Burkhardt, had to fend off 3 to 4 different drivers who were trying to take the lead away from him, and he did not budge. Like you said, he led all but 2 laps. He was completely undeniable tonight, and that is a big jolt in his title hopes. Exactly what he needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Partners, people that made this all happen. Thanks so much again to Soundbelt, Wine Country Motorsports, Faro, Final Turn, 3P Logistics, and of course, Full Send Sims. Tomorrow night, the Racecraft Academy heads to Circuit of the Americas West at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's where we head next week. For more from Sim TV, I'm Kyle Heyer with Connor Horn. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.